The ideal seller system. We like to call this the end of delays, smokescreens, objections, and games. What ends up happening oftentimes is when we go to an appointment, there's a game that's being played and you may not recognize it. You get the seller who is telling you, that they're working with you or, they're shopping you, whatever. They'll tell you whatever they need to tell you, but ultimately at the end of the day, we know they're not being as honest as they can be. And if you're not careful, you're gonna fall victim to this. The analogy I like to use is actually a scene from Eurotrip, where Scotty's graduating high school, his parents are there, recording everything, and his grandparents are there too. It's a great day for celebration. And Fiona, his girlfriend, walks up and says, "Hey, we need to break up." And he looks at her, dumbfounded. And he says, "I don't understand, what's going on?" And she says, "I'm tired of all the lying and the cheating." And he says to her, "I'm not doing any of those things." And she says, "I know." What's happening here is there's a game that's being played, and if you're not fully prepared for it, you will fall victim to the game. So we're gonna teach you the rules of the game and how you can win at the same exact game. Have you ever had a homeowner ask you for a price, and when you shared the price with them, they became offended? Or are you tired of hearing, "I need to think about it"? Or possibly, have you had a homeowner tell you they needed to think about it, and instead of them thinking about it, they were shopping your offer? Or even worse, have you ever had a property that you went to, met with the homeowner, and you saw that photo and that address on another wholesaler's list? Or ultimately, the worst, at least for me, is when you see a DocuSign and it says, "So-and-so has opened your envelope," and that's the last time you ever talk to the homeowner. If that's the case, the bad news is it's your fault. Because did you, at any time, tell them they were not allowed to think about it? They were not allowed to shop your offer. And that when they met with you, they're working with you right then and there. Now, there's a warning here for you. When you follow our proven process, you're going to get a lot more no's. However, you're also going to get a lot more yeses because you're going to get a lot fewer stalls and objections like "I need to think about it" or "I need to sleep on it." Now, if you want to be able to consistently achieve a desired outcome, or if you want to be able to troubleshoot where the appointment might have gone south, or ultimately if you might be a great closer yourself but have a hard time getting your team to replicate you, then I've got great news. This is the system for you. When you meet with a homeowner, what is their process today? They're gonna lie to you, they're gonna steal from you, and they're gonna mislead you, and they're gonna hide from you. Now, this might come across as a little harsh, but the reality is the sales defense system we have today has been around forever because the sales process has been around forever. And so we're all programmed to defend ourselves against salespeople the same exact way. So let me share with you how this looks. You're gonna hear things like, "I'm in no hurry." "I don't need to sell." "I'm in no rush." "This house is in great condition. I just remodeled it," right? Have you heard these things before? Now, we're saying homeowners will lie to you, but I want you to put yourself in a position of just a regular shopper. The last time you went to Best Buy, Apple, or whatever, and you walked in and a salesperson with a bright smile asked you, "Can I help you?" What did you say? Probably the same two words everyone else says, "Just looking." Now, you could be like my daughter. When she was 2, we went to H&M in Scottsdale, and the salesperson asked us, "Can we help you?" And my daughter responded with, "Go away." Why? Because she didn't know yet that you're allowed to lie to salespeople. And so what are the things that a homeowner will steal from you? They're gonna steal your time, and they're gonna steal your knowledge. What are some examples of that? When a homeowner reaches out to you, you're gonna have that conversation, 10 to 15 minutes on the phone to book the appointment. You're gonna do your research to figure out what you're willing to offer them. You're gonna drive to their house, run an appointment anywhere from 15 minutes to 2 hours, 2.5 hours if it's a really long appointment. And on the drive back, if you didn't get the contract, it always seems to take a little bit longer to get back. They've just taken 3, 4, 5 hours of your time. How does a homeowner feel? Do they feel the slightest bit guilty about it? No. Have you ever had a homeowner ask you, "Hey, I'd like to reimburse you for your time"? Probably not. So they'll steal your time and they won't feel bad about it at all. How about your knowledge? They're gonna find out from you what their house is worth, how much it's gonna cost to make repairs, what other homes are selling for, and they're not gonna reimburse you for that either. And so they'll steal your time, they'll steal your knowledge, and again, they won't feel the slightest bit bad about it. Now, how about us? We're not that much better. Think about the last time you went to a store to buy something, and before you pulled the trigger, you just checked on your phone one more time, say, "Well, I wonder how much this is. Let me make sure the reviews are good." And you might have bought something at the store on your phone. And did you feel the slightest bit guilty about it, right? They've got their lease, they got their wages, they got their insurance, everything, and we'll steal their time and their resources, and we don't feel the slightest bit bad about it. And the next thing they'll do is they'll mislead you. They'll tell you, I like your offer, you seem really nice, or I need to sleep on it, think about it, pray on it, or I need to talk to my husband, my wife, my son, my daughter, or maybe I need to run this by my attorney, my accountant, my realtor. They will tell you whatever they feel like they need to tell you so that you will go away. Are you familiar with the expression, I know just enough to be dangerous? Well, that's exactly what you're doing when you're educating a homeowner. When they ask you to come over, they actually had a problem that you could solve. You educating them does not solve their problems. So what you're doing is you're giving them just enough information to be dangerous. We call this leaving them as sophomores. And what I mean by that is the root words for sophomore is sophos and moros, which is sophisticated moron. We're leaving the homeowners just enough information to be dangerous. We're not actually solving their problems. Now, when we talk about hiding, what are we talking about here? We have this, what we call in the office, a prospect protection program. This is where they'll disappear off the face of the earth, they'll ghost you, and you can't get a hold of them. And what's always funny to me is you actually call them from a different phone number, and they'll get upset with you for doing that. Now, we actually had one person who called the same homeowner 7 times from 7 different phone numbers, because if you call them from the same number, they won't answer it. So this guy genuinely had 7 different conversations with the homeowner from 7 different phone numbers. And the system today is the homeowners are going to lie to you, steal from you, mislead you, and hide from you. Well, what's our sales process? Before you sign up for this sales training program, we will qualify them, talk at them, and go for the close. What does that sound like? In qualifying, you might ask questions like, well, how much do you want for your house? How soon did you want to move? Tell me about the condition of the home. Are you the homeowner? Each one of these questions are simple yes or no questions that are very easily lied to. And you can get very short answers, so these don't help you at all. And the next thing we do is we're gonna talk at them. And what I mean by that is we're gonna educate them. We're gonna say your house is worth X because of A, B, and C. We're gonna tell them what the market's doing. We're gonna share with them what investors are paying and why they need to work with us because of how awesome we are, right? We're gonna talk about all the features and benefits and how cool we are. We're gonna share with them how the process works. And ultimately, we do this because it's 2 things. We love hearing ourselves talk, and we want to show how great we are. But that doesn't actually help the homeowner at all. And the last step for us is going for the close. And what I know is that most of us are either closing too hard or too soft. There's 100 different ways to close. So we got the alternative or assumptive close. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, it's the middle of the month. Would you like to close at the end of this month or maybe next month? We got the sit and stare, right? If you bought a car, you recognize this. The car dealer will put everything in writing, slide it around, put the pen down, and just stare at you. Or we got the, well, what's it gonna take? What will we need to offer for you to sign today? And that question isn't terribly harsh, but you can see how it kind of sounds like a car sales guy. And lastly, the worst question, which is what I did for most of my career. It really is a miracle that I sit here before you to teach you about sales, because my closing question for the first 9 years of my career is, well, what do you think? And what's the natural answer to what do you think? I need to think about it. So I was shooting myself in the foot for all these years. I have no idea how many millions of dollars I left on the table, but I probably would be retired by now if I wasn't asking, well, what do you think? And the process today is we're gonna qualify them and they're gonna lie to us. We're gonna talk at them and they're gonna steal all that information from us. And when we go for the close, they're gonna mislead and hide from us. How's that process gonna work out for us? What would Billy May say here? There's gotta be a better way. And the good news is, there is. And the better way is that we close. In the first 5 to 15 minutes, it's gonna be a yes or it's gonna be a no, and you're not allowed to think about it. And then we disqualify throughout the rest of the appointment, and if we can make it to the very end, then we just confirm everything we talked about, and that is the natural close to a great appointment. Now, a little bit of caution here. The reason why we do it this way is that if you're trying to close at the very end, you're putting way too much pressure on you and the homeowner. You see, as the appointment progresses, this whole time, the homeowner's thinking, when's he gonna go for the close? What's he gonna say? How is he gonna try to trick me? And if you wait to the very end, there's so much pressure and you get all these objections. So what we do is we close in the first couple of minutes, and then we're going to deal with all the objections throughout the appointment. And at the very end, there is no pressure because we made it to the very end. We dealt with all the objections, and signatures is just a natural ending to the appointment. When you're over there trying to buy someone's house, your job as a home buyer is to be like a professional sketch artist. I want you to be able to repeat back to them, articulate what it is that's going on exactly in their world. If you can describe back to them what it is they told you and really understand what's going on inside their head, do you believe that you developed enough rapport? And on top of that, I want you to be able to articulate what the ideal outcome is for them. If you can describe their pain and the ideal outcome, do you believe at the very end of the day, they'll want to work with you? And so your job as a home buyer is to be a sketch artist. And so our proven process is you're going to establish the rules. In the first 5 to 15 minutes of the appointment, you're going to extract the pain from them, having them relive, re-experience all the pain they're going through right now. And then after that point, pull the price, pull the decision makers, and the time frame from them. And after you've done all of that, you can confirm everything they talked about, put it all in writing, and then before you leave, prevent remorse. And that is our Disruptors selling system. Before we wrap up this section, I just really want to emphasize why we're not allowing them to think about it. Because what happens when you allow a prospect to think about it, emotions are high, right? I want you to think about when you went to a bonfire or when you went camping. When you were near the fire, emotions were very high, there was a lot of warmth. And as you left the campfire, you became a little cooler. What happens is when you're dealing with a homeowner, when the emotions are high, that's the time to get an agreement from them. That's the time to get the contract signed. If you wait just a day later, all the emotions have dissipated and is now back to an entirely intellectual conversation, and there's no reason for them to sign with you when things are all entirely intellectual again. Additionally, as we go through this course, we're going to talk about how all decisions are made emotionally and justified logically. When you hear the words, I need to think about it, what that's telling you is that they have not been able to justify why they have not been able to agree to you at your price. If they can't justify it, that just means they're not sold. So when you hear, I need to think about it, just hear, I'm not sold, and there's something that you're missing, and you're leaving just means you're not going to get a contract later on. And finally, is it possible, just possible, that things change after you leave? Is it possible that they might get a second opinion from a realtor, a second opinion from their friends, their family? Another thing happens too. We have this thing called a reticular activator system. So I want you to think about the car you drive currently, right now. The week before you bought that car and the week after you bought that car. Did you see that car everywhere? So that's just the brain at work looking for something that it recognizes. So what happens is when they've met with you and you don't get a signed contract, they will literally see every postcard, every billboard, every marketing material about buying their house for cash. And you, if you leave right now, are subjecting them to all this other advertising and additional competition that there's no reason for you to subject yourself and the homeowner to. And the best way to improve in all of this is to really just rinse and repeat and practice all the time. I highly recommend, as you go through this material, practice this with your colleagues, with your friends, your family. I use this all the time with my kids. I can't really emphasize this enough. Additionally, practice this on low-stakes situations. Practice when you're calling customer service, when you're at a hotel, or you talk to a homeowner who says, my house is worth, according to Zillow, $300,000, and I won't take $1 less. Go on those appointments. Yeah, they're not great leads, but now you can get your reps in. And finally, after each appointment, I want you to ask yourself these 3 questions. What went well at that appointment? What did not go well at that appointment? How was I responsible for that outcome? And if you can do this consistently, practice in low-stakes situations, practice with friends and family, and do a diagnostic after every single appointment, I promise you, you will close more deals.